Jamie, Dushane, Sully, Jack, the whole crew from Summer House is back in a season 2 premiere of Netflix's Top Boy that is deeply intriguing and reminiscently gritty. What's good, y'all? It's a new series alert right here on Erica Vane TV, your number one source for television breakdowns, film reviews, and soon come original content that tells beautifully authentic stories and gets you hooked. In this video, we're going to be breaking down season 2, episode 1 of Top Boy, a series that I quickly had to binge the first season of last week and now am utterly obsessed as I have watched the full season 2 and cannot wait to take you episode by episode through it. I also will have my guide to season 1. If you are new to the series, it is still a really great time for you to go back and binge watch season 1 and then start season 2 and then follow along with my breakdowns as they are released, because when I tell you that the series is brilliant, it's because the series is utterly brilliant. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of my Top Boy coverage. That's including my breakdowns, character analysis, and any announcements for a pending season 3. Also, be sure to drop your thoughts, theories, and predictions, as well as your reactions to each episode in the comment section down below, as I will be replying to all of your comments and keeping the conversation going. Without further ado, let's get into episode 1. The episode opens with Emilio, a Spanish man with a man caught in his net on a boat in the ocean, and we quickly learn that he hasn't caught this big fish of a man, but is tossing him back into the ocean with a few decorative chains to make sure that he doesn't make it. The man is screaming about Los Duques before Emilio pulls the trigger and sends him to the bottom of the ocean, and we are left to wonder, who is Los Duques, Emilio, and why are we starting off this gritty London crime drama in the middle of what may be a Spanish ocean? Because the Top Boy world is expanding in season 2. That's why. From there, we see Jamie being taken to court in a nice suit and preparing for his release, as the video of Ats bringing the book bag into his flat exonerates any confession that he made previously. Aaron and Kits are in the audience watching him be released, and things don't look good, even though this is good news of his release. A major red flag is that Steph is not there waiting to hug him. From there, we follow Jamie on his journey home and experience Fresh Out with him as his old crew erupts with joy at first seeing him, showering him with love, bud, and bubbly, because it's certainly a celebration. Before the celebration can truly get underway, Jack and a few men arrive with a message for Jamie from Dushane to meet up at number 1 cafe the next day, and confirms that Dushane is behind the tape, seeing the light of day and helping Jamie see the outside. When Jamie makes it into the house, Steph is too focused on video games to welcome him home and gets a quick rough up from Kits to get it together and give him a hug. It's clear that the tension brewing behind Jamie's line of work, incarceration, and Steph's resentment of it all will be a problem this season. Without getting the reaction that he was hoping for from Steph, Jamie settles at home with the feeling of his first day out not being what he thought it would be at all. It feels like foreshadowing for the whole season and what his journey will look like. As Jamie tries to pick up where he left off with taking care of his brothers and leading his family, he quickly learns how 6 months can change everything. Dushane introduces Shelley to his new home, their new home, and a surprise booking of her services that bring her to a plush flat with phenomenal views. These two are going strong after a rocky meeting and start in season 1. Dushane runs down his plans to go legit in a year with Shelley as they look out over their new view and discuss their new home design and furnishings. To further solidify Dushane's exit dream as a plan, we see him meet with the vintage lady who helps him move and wash his money, who proposes that he gets in on the Summer House Project's redevelopment project to clean more of his money, making sure that he keeps more in the plan to go legit. On the business side of things, nobody, meaning Jack, Sully, and presumably their whole crews, are excited that Jamie and Dushane are sitting down to chat it up in this episode. Dushane makes Jamie an offer he kinda can't refuse after briefing him on how good it's been on road in the last 6 months that he's been away. He gives Jamie the option to get in on the business and joining his organization, and for a moment we think that Jamie is going to lean on his pride and say no, but alas, he's in. I mean, he has to plot the path back to Top Boy somehow while not get money along the way. Back with Emilio, whom we still aren't clear about his importance upon hearing the news of his wife's terminal diagnosis as he passes out, hits his head on the table, and for a moment without context you would think he is the one with the medical condition versus being a worried and fearful husband that doesn't want to lose his wife. We don't get clarity on Emilio's importance to Dushane's organization in the overall story until we see Lizzie and her husband discussing divorce options emotions over dinner when she receives a call from Emilio to inform her that he is out. His wife's new medical news has changed things for him, which has ultimately changed the pipeline for Dushane's food and Lizzie's business forever. It's clear he is her connect or a top level part of her distribution process. I guess sis shouldn't be talking about divorce after all. In one phone call, her whole business is seemingly dissolved and her husband's real estate side of things will live on. It's important to remember her husband and how he is involved in real estate. Lizzie is in way over her head trying to reconstruct her drug business in Spain later on in the episode. Antonio, who was put in place by Emilio, was killed during the meeting with Juan as the power change is supposed to happen and new connections are made to keep the business moving as Emilio bows out. They kill Antonio, Emilio's brother-in-law, after the conversation that went surprisingly too easy, but allows Lizzie to live in order to send a message, and she calls Dushane immediately. Jack and the crew get pulled over by the police midway through the episode, and American fans see this scene and completely relate. Driving black in London looks a lot like driving black in America. The thing to note from this scene is that the two junkies from season 1 are leading the investigation and car stop from another car as they have been undercover in Summer House for nearly a year. One of the police officers makes a note to Jack to be careful whose cars you're driving around in. Jack is tasked with giving Jamie the ghetto new hire orientation, and it's priceless watching the crew react to him walking into the trap house and hearing the orders to recognize him as a part of their organization. Sully is reeling in this episode when we finally see him with the guilt of Dris's death, and we learn not only did he kill Dris, but he shot him 20 times on the roof. This is a kill that will stay with him forever. He's living on a houseboat, keeping his distance, only allowing Jack to see him, and still passively beefing with Dushane as he learns about Jamie being brought into the organization. He also gets news about Dris's baby mom, Mandy, as well as the fallout that happened to Aaron, his daughter, and this is definitely something that I can anticipate Sully going to try to make right. Dushane is clearly up in this episode as we see quite a few scenes of him driving around, taking meetings, making connections, and literally just living a top boy life. And we kind of love that for him. We meet Ruben in this episode as he installs new security cameras in Dushane's place and learn that he's doing some extra things on the side that have the feds looking into him and potentially compromising the business that he's doing with Dushane and how they move. He is what they were referencing when they say, be careful with who cars you're driving around in. Aside from that prophecy, Ruben is the first to present the perspective that though a shithole, as Dushane will say, Summer House is their home to all of their people, and maybe it shouldn't be torn down. As this episode, we see him go ahead and give the okay for him to get involved in the redevelopment project to be able to move more of his money. In this episode also, Shelley gets a blast from the past with Bev, and this woman clearly has something over Shelley. But what could Shelley have possibly done it to be so worried and intimidated by this woman who looks like a middle-aged crackhead? We don't actually learn in this episode. And back at Summer House, Amma, At's mom, spends the episode searching for him. Steph has been keeping his distance from At as it's clear that he misses him. We see him scrolling on social media and looking at his photos longingly, but he still resents At for planting a book bag for Dushane and changing their friendship and his family forever by ultimately setting Jamie up to go to jail for something that he did not do. With this talk with Steph, Jamie starts to crawl out of the doghouse and back into the driver's seat of their family. By the end of the episode, we learn what has happened to Attica as they find his body in the trash. As the crew is going to round up more rubbish so that they can continue to stuff drugs into them because that's their organization and how they move. I ain't really mad at it. It's giving the boys in the pits on the wire a run for their money. I ain't gonna hold you. But we find out that Ats has actually been killed. So the fact that he's been missing for the last 48 hours is because he was stabbed to death at some point without anybody knowing. At the end of the episode, Dushane thinks that all he has to worry about is the lack of product and the interruption in the distribution pipeline for his product. But he also has Sully stewing in the suburbs or on his houseboat, pissed about his decision to bring Jamie into fold. Shelley aligning with the Summer House neighbors who are being forced to relocate and deciding to fight back as we see him invest in a project that's going to displace them all. And also, maybe Jamie cooking up a plan internally to take the top spot again. This season is prime with drama, dissension, and the ultimate test of loyalty. Who will fold? All right, y'all, that is my full breakdown for episode 1, season 2 of Top Boy, streaming now on Netflix. Let me know your thoughts, theories, and predictions after you watch the episode and checked out this full review in the comment section down below. Also, let me know what it is that you love about Top Boy, and if you're new to the series, what questions do you have? Drop them in the comment section down below. I'll be monitoring them and making sure to respond to keep the conversations going. And I'll see you in episode 2 breakdown.